Good morning, everybody. Ace of Trades here again. It is Thursday, April 23rd. The Bible says in the book of Matthew, chapter 16, starting in verse 24, Then said Jesus unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? And sadly, some people's souls are very cheap to them, and they'll sell out for very little. Um, so on the chart today, this just kind of looks to me like two legs up here. One leg, two legs, didn't quite hit the measured move. Um, there's a slight upward channel here. Not channel, but you can see hitting some sort of support level. Doesn't really fit in any way off the top very well. So you're probably just in this range. Maybe you get a one leg down in some fashion, you get a second leg down. There's nothing really here to figure out. We just got to wait for more price action and hopefully you get some structures that make sense. But before we go on today, I have something I want to show you that's very good teaching point this morning, and I'll be right back to show you that. Okay, so what we're looking at here, we're looking at two charts from two heavily followed traders that trade this sort of style of price action that I trade. Over here, it's the same trade we're looking at. So over here in this trader's chart review, over 100,000 followers, he calls this a very tempting reversal pattern. And I always tell you guys, these are these are false reversals. These are not true reversals. You'll never figure these out. You'll always be behind. You'll get them right once in a while, and because of the um, profit target versus risk ratio that you take on them, they're unprofitable trades. They're losing money over time. So this is why I always say you never take these trades. These will because when this trader actually says you're going, even describes it as you're going high right into the trend line. He sees it, and this is what I always say is that you're going high right into the top of the move, and what you're concerned about here is now there's some other contextual issues. I actually didn't even see this one yesterday. I think I still see them, but I sort of trained my brain not to see them anymore. In a way, like I'll overlook them because I'm looking for other stuff. They're unimportant to me, but I'll point them out once in a while to warn other traders about them. And I think he doesn't take the trade, but he says it's very tempting. It's not really when you understand that these are bad trades. So what happens here is this trade is right here on this other trader's chart, another uh, heavily followed price action trader. And this is the trade right here. And you see you get ticked into that trade and it immediately dumps on you. So, um, but look at these channels too. This is how I would probably draw this channel if I was going to draw one and price, kept going higher. You want to draw it off the swings. But look how conveniently this one is drawn. It ignores this swing so that you can say a close outside new high. But if this could keep going here, this channel would get drawn differently. For example, look at this over here. Why would you draw this channel like this? This makes no sense. If you're drawing this channel like this, then you would want to come up here very steep and draw it right there, and then you'd get your break. But because later on in hindsight, you can see like where prices keep going and the top comes in up here, then we draw it like this so we can say break is here, new high. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm warning you about watching these hindsight chart lessons. It's quote unquote chart lessons. You're just, as someone pointed out on my channel the other day, you're gaslighting yourself. You're making yourself think you're seeing you can find the stuff, and it's all just drawn arbitrarily based on how the price action works out. So, the this this guy will often say, the news is written to fit the price action in when he talks about following the news, but the chart lessons are drawn to fit the price action afterwards, is what I would say when these chart lessons. So you can see how crazy this is that you're the way these things are drawn. Here we're drawing it like this, and so we can avoid talking about this failed second entry. And then we draw it like this, which makes no sense. You would draw, if you're drawing your channels the same, you would draw it like, at the very least, I would probably draw it like off here off the swing. But if you're drawing it like this and you're skipping that bar, we'll draw it like this and skip that bar. So that's what I'm talking about. When you are trying to trade, to learn to trade, you have to be as consistent in your methodologies as possible and the things that you're looking at, the setups you're taking. Um, you can't be doing this stuff, or you'll never figure it out. You'll always be losing because you're just making it up as you go along, basically. So I just wanted to point that out, and we'll get back to today's chart. All right, price action's pretty ugly on ES right now. Just zoom in here so people can see. There's nothing here. I don't see anything here at all anywhere. Right here's the open, and it's just been crawling, and there's no clear swings or anything like that. Um, so I am watching. I started watching NQ today, and you can see how much cleaner NQ is right now. This is probably a decent trade right there. Yeah, so I'm gonna watch this. This is printing much cleaner, and usually that happens when price is very, very sluggish on ES. Normally, when price is kind of moving normally, then NQ is a little bit noisier and harder to figure out. But when price is very, very slow and sluggish on ES, you sometimes will get these cleaner prints for NQ. And I think that's just because naturally NQ is a little bit more volatile than ES. And so when you get it's very, very slow in ES, then NQ will kind of be normal. But the more volume comes in ES, the more volume will come in on NQ, and NQ looks just a little bit more noisy and difficult to read. But that was probably a good trade right there. Wasn't on there at the time, so who knows? Maybe ES will kind of pick up, but it's been real slow right now. So I'm watching NQ as well. All right, so difficult to tell what's going on here right now. As soon as I was gone for maybe a half an hour. As soon as I align this channel up, it overshoots. So I can't really count on this anymore. Um, so just kind of watching the price action. Um, it's one of the more odd types of price action I've seen in a while, I think. Just not really. I mean, generally there's an upward slant to it, but you really just can't tell, where things are over. I don't see any good entries here anywhere. So, just kind of generally slow and strange. But be back later when there's more to talk about. Okay, so this channel I drew a few ways, a few times. Of course, originally I had it like this. Then you had this overshoot, but nothing really came of the overshoot. It just made like two legs here and then pushed up again. We're pushing up again. The way the bars are printing is not very favorable to getting trades right now. They're, um, you're just getting like these legs, and here's one, entry, and then your next attempt here is right into the highs, which you don't want to take, and then here's the pullback after that, but then right back into the highs again. Just very choppy as it moves up. So currently I have it drawn like this. We'll just see how that continues to develop and holds. I don't really see anything here I like. Um, Flipping over just for a minute to NQ because I was talking about that, and right after, this nice price action here, it kind of just goes back to doing what NQ normally does. Um, so um, Still peeking at that once in a while, but it's not really following it too much anymore. This kind of looks very weird to me because this never touches down here, but then it does here. So, it could be that you're just in a bigger structure. I haven't looked at this one. If we draw something like this, how does that work? I mean, we could probably get that to fit depending on how far you pull this down and change the angle. So just not very helpful right now. I'll be back later if something interesting happens. All right. This whole channel I had drawn, I took that off. It just felt like it wasn't right. Didn't seem like it was very valid, I guess. Um, so again, if you're wrong, don't sit there and have, weird structures on your chart that are going to confuse you. Take them off and, reset your thinking. So then we got this steep move down, break, push to a new low, and now just got to wait for price reset. Is this going to bounce off here, make another leg down? Is this going to try to hold here and push up? Because you are at the overnight high level, so prices may have been just coming down to test this former resistance level from the other side before pushing higher. Um, so we'll just wait and see about that. If we get some nice big strong bars launching up off here, then we could look to take a long again. But again, just watching the price action, see what happens. The EMA holds and smacks it down, and price just starts to fall down in here. Well, then we look for shorts. So we're not beholden to any particular bias, long or short. We're just trying to assess the direction that the price is most likely to move based on how we understand structure, trends, and breaks and things of that nature. Let me just also say, maybe this thing is valid. I don't feel like it's something that I can trade. It's not really giving you anything consistent. So, maybe this little thing here pushed down new low in itself is a break for this structure. Who knows? It's just much too choppy and wide to try to trade as a retail trader for the targets and types of setups that I'm looking for. Maybe there's other people that trade bigger picture stuff that, they'll take a much bigger stop and they'll have much bigger targets and they'll try to trade something like that. But I've just determined that stuff's not for me. I just try to stick to more near term um, price structures that I can really feel like I figure out what's going on. All right, so I definitely think this is all played out to the downside here. So I think what prices are attempting to do right now is reverse higher. It's already made one attempt and got rejected here, and I believe it's making a second attempt here to push up. So we'll see if this just rejected hard off here and starts pushing down again, then it's okay to start looking for shorts. I would not look for a short here off this level though, because you could get trapped on a higher. This could just manifest like a red bar here, and then you could get trapped on a higher low as this tries to push higher. So just waiting for prices to show us if they are indeed going to try to go higher here off this double bottom play out, or if they just cannot push higher and then start retracing back down again. Also entirely possible that you end up in a little range here or something. There's just a number of things that could happen, but I'm not looking for a trade at the moment. All right, so we get this downtrend plays out, and then we get this choppy sort of trying to push up here, push up, push up. ultimately fails, and with this bar, we get a lot more volume come in. Not sure why. So at this point, when we get this push down, I'm looking for a couple legs here. And you just kind of get this really weak correction, and then it pushes down to a new low. So now this little move is played out, but it's hard to tell. This is pushing down really much further. So maybe we're just getting weaker overall as we try to push down here into, where's the bottom? Okay, so when we zoom out a little bit, that's why normally on this chart I'm zoomed out, because this is like my context chart and I trade on the other chart. But I'm not sure if this level becomes something, because we can see here. So sometimes it's important to be able to see your whole chart, and kind of you get zoomed way in, you kind of miss some of the context of what went on earlier. But yeah, I just got to kind of watch this. I'm not sure what's going on. If this whole move down is going to just start to turn into something bigger and keep pushing down, or this break and push down ends up being like the end of that move, and then it tries to start pushing up. So we just kind of keep watching and see what develops. All right, so I do have this now as a larger downtrend, and I was looking for one leg, two legs back, but we just end on a green bar. I was hoping this would push up a little bit higher and then close back down, but it just doesn't, just drops from here. So, um, maybe this is barely a break, so this is probably all within this downtrend. So I would probably still consider it valid for the moment. Yeah, that still fits okay. So anyway, watching this downtrend now for um, opportunities. So right now I'm wondering if the bottom of the channel is right here and we just don't have an overshoot that the channel recovered from right there, because everything else seems to fit. If I move it out here, then nothing, prices aren't making it back to the other side. But finally getting some good volume come in. But as far as price action correction to get in on, I'm not sure about this here. I see one leg, I see a second leg, but this is all very sideways to me. So I probably won't take that as a trade. I might look for another leg off here, and it might not give it to me because this might be two legs here, but that's what I'm looking for. All right, so unfortunately, no, didn't even if you're counting this as two legs, no setup there. Um, I'm gonna step away for a little bit. I'll be back, so there's a chance I might miss something here, but that's just happens sometimes. Okay, so I just got back, and this is moving very quickly now. As I look at this, I'm not sure what kind of setup maybe you got on your screen. I mean, this is something here you could consider. I mean, you have one leg, two legs. This is a little bit further. Um, Once I get down here, I'm probably very hesitant because this is pushed to a new low and you're going sideways. So I'm probably not inclined to take this, especially with that sort of thing working up against you. Might be concerned you're going to get a bounce off there, especially since this downtrend is technically played out. Um, but then as we push down further, you might view this as two bigger legs that's pushed down. And now once you do that, you got to be really careful, unless you get two very clear legs that maybe reject hard off the EMA. Um, so other than that, other than this guy here, maybe you take the lower high, but other than this, I don't, even though this is pushed down very strongly, I don't see anything in here that really I really like. I mean, this is dangerous to take this now that, like I said, this is really played out and you went sideways. Because when you get a play out, sometimes what you get is you get a range and then it reverses. So this looks like, a bunch of sideways moving, bunch of, it's resistant to push down, and now you're pushing back up. So that one's a little concerning to me. And then the whole way down here, there's really nothing. It's just pushing down. There's no corrections for you to get in on. If you were taking trades, you're always taking a bar that's going into the lows. You don't want to take that. And now I don't know, like, what's the impetus for this massive sell-off? Since, I mean, you can see the timestamps down here. I mean, you've gotten more activity since 1 o'clock than probably the whole day, the whole morning session. So, maybe this is now a trend and this is a break, and when the bigger the price action, so to speak, starts getting, the more difficult it is to kind of figure out where corrections are. Um, so, I would probably be looking for, maybe this move up is going to get a second leg. We'll see. And maybe run into this overnight low. Excuse me. Overnight low region, which to zoom way over here to find that. So if you get something like that, then maybe you look for a nice lower high or something. This price tests and rejects there. But that's the only idea I have right now. Other than that, you're waiting for something to reset for you so that you can, um, with this little move having not played out, with this big trend having played out here, even though the price action is really big and this looks like its own trend, um, on the bigger picture, this is basically the play out of this move down. So I'd be waiting for something here. Either this makes a new high or this tries to make a new high and fails and starts pushing back down. And then you can look for um, shorts again. But that's basically what I'm watching right now. I know I'm trying to stay zoomed in for people, but the structures we're talking about are so big that sometimes I got to zoom out to be able to talk about that stuff. Okay, the price action is moving very quickly now. So with this big rush up, um, I'm thinking long now, but these are printing so fast. Um, it may be difficult to assess where you want to get in or what the legs are, and then attempting to get in, that may be a whole other issue. But this looks like a push up, and then I'd be looking for a couple. This all looks like one leg. So, we'll see if we can get another leg. Maybe this is just going to blow back down here. You just have to watch and see what happens, what the price action is telling you it wants to do. So, if it falls back down here, then, no big deal. If it tries to hold here and push up and make an attempt to get to this is a high, get back up here and make a new high, then okay, well, maybe we'll look for a second leg and maybe an area where we can potentially get in. But when you're getting printings like this, it's just, sometimes it's hard to tell. Sometimes these signal bars will print so fast that it's difficult for you to even drop an order in there to try to get in, even if you wanted to. But that's what we're looking at. This looks like this is trying to hold and push up. So we'll see if we can find something to get in if this tries for a new high. Okay, I was looking for a lower high. I mean, you do get a lower high, but I don't like that it closes green. So I don't really want to go short here with this closing green. But it is a lower high, and with this push up and this bar here, you can see like there's a lot of selling that came in at that point at this high. And then we get this lower high with a lot of selling came in. I was looking for something. So I've got 2, 4, 5 points to the EMA at that point. So, almost got something there, but I didn't like that bar. Apologies, I just realized my mic was off. So, yeah, I said that once it started doing this nonsense in here, I quit. I stepped away for a while and just got back. So I don't really see anything. I said this one here is one of those aggressive ones because this is where I was looking for the lower high with room back, but I didn't like that green bar. Um, and then this is one of those aggressive ones. You got one leg, two legs, not much room to these highs though. Sometimes you'll catch a second leg up, which it does, and then more, but sometimes you won't. And then you just get all this chopping around, which you can't really discern anything. Get this trend up, and then you get this move down. So I said, you wouldn't want to take that. You draw your trend line like this. You'd have that block, so that would save you if you. I wouldn't take that because it's just too steep. But if you're newer and have trouble reading things, and drawing your trend line will have you uh, save from taking that. Bounces off the EMA, heads lower, bounces off and heads lower again, chops around, and then we're heading up. So maybe now I would say that whatever this move down was has played out in whatever fashion if this the whole thing was a push down, and then or maybe this was, and then you got where an overshoot if you drew it like that. Sometimes these are just they're difficult to read. So so you just sit and do nothing. But I would say now it looks like we're trying to go back up again. So I might draw something like this. Um, but it's slowed down. Price action slowed down a lot again since about 210, 215. So we'll see. Looks like it's trying to make a second leg down here, but these are um, very tight legs. It's not. I usually like to see more separation in legs than a bunch of bars that are stacked up representing legs. But maybe this will hold and just keep going up, which that would be better if we had more confidence in this trend. But we'll just see what happens now. 40 minutes to go, so I might just be back at the end unless there's a trade. Okay, so we can see this uptrend. You got this sideways little jog here. Was hoping for something more definitive on a correction to get in, and it makes a new high, and now we're pushing down strongly back lower. So, hoping for a correction that we can get in on for a trade. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Got nothing again today, unfortunately. Just not getting favorable price action, and certain areas where you're looking for stuff, it just doesn't give you good setups. Had this final push down here, was looking for two legs back, and then you get the 350 contract dump. This just spiked down very quickly, but I don't really see anything in here I'm really interested in. The only thing I said coming up here was maybe that. Probably not. Usually not going to take that. I really don't see anything else in here where I'd be interested. Um, the morning was pretty much shot because it was just so slow. And then you had this downtrend here. Was looking for something here, but you get on the two legs, it doesn't make it back up and just dumps right there. So, you just don't get, maybe you had better printing on your chart than I did. Just don't get favorable printing. And I think at this point I stepped away for a while, and, maybe you take that. This it's kind of questionable in real time. I don't know if I'd have taken that thing. You get these three super strong bars up. So, yeah, I don't know. And then you get a lower high. That's right into the EMA. It does push down, then start reversing. Um, and then up here, it's pretty yucky price action most of the morning up until 1 o'clock. So, yeah, I didn't really see anything, unfortunately, today. But back in tomorrow, and we'll see if we can find a trade.